Well, welcome back to Why We Buy It. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please do. It helps the channel. Now, we'll talk about that at the end of the video as well. But before we get into that, let's talk about what this video is all about. And that's the top 5 things we like to do on vacation. We're actually going to go in order from 5 to 1. But to be entirely honest, we like to do all 5 whenever possible.
Yep.
Some of the things on this list you can't do everywhere you go. So some of it is location dependent. But whenever possible, we want to do all 5.
So I'm gonna start with number 5, and number 5, I personally love. I know you do too, because we don't really get it here in Toronto, at least not anymore. And that's the nightlife. Now we experience the nightlife in Vegas. We experience the nightlife in Thailand, Singapore, Venice, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Like, you know, when the lights go out and everyone's got their like sparkly lights on and the restaurants are happening, the club lights happening, you know, the people are just out and about and just super happy. It's such an amazing experience to have.
Yeah, it's very different than what we have here. Toronto tends to treat nightlife as though it's a VIP only experience, which kind of takes away from it.
Yeah.
And the clubs here aren't anywhere near as good as they used to be. There's a number of things about Toronto's nightlife that's sort of unappealing to us now. It also tends to be very expensive, and that goes along with the way the culture has been set up here. Depending on where you go in the world, the nightlife is kind of part of the pub life.
Yeah, like when we went to Thailand, it was basically people were just walking down the streets and just trying little like pub grub.
Yeah.
Right, from like little vendors, and they were just walking and having a great time.
Right, so some of the best places aren't relying on a late night experience to make their money.
That's right.
They're open all day long. They're open for lunch, that sort of thing. So it's a different kind of atmosphere, and whenever we get the chance, we take
full advantage. Number 4 for us, food. Food. You know, the food in Toronto here is great because we do have a very good variety of everything.
A multicultural city.
But when you experience food from certain cultures and the way they traditionally make their food, it's unreal. Like I'll go back to when we went to Venice. Mm-hmm. We had this risotto dish, and Cobe and I couldn't order it alone. We had to wait for another couple to order this risotto dish because there was some little nonna in the back.
There's so much work that goes into
making this risotto from scratch. And she's like, no, I'm not making it just for 2 people, like, you know, a minimum 4. So we're like, please, somebody in the restaurant, like, order this with us. And it was phenomenal because everything was made from scratch, super fresh from there.
It's not just the food, though, because like Amy had said, we have a very good assortment of cuisines available to us
here
in Toronto. Mm-hmm. And some of the food here is bang on.
Yeah.
Bang on. But you don't get the same experience as far as the service and atmosphere and everything else.
The atmosphere does make a big difference.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you're having an Italian dinner somewhere in Italy and you're having the local wine, right? And, you know, you've got the Mediterranean behind you, that sort of thing. It's just that much more impressive.
You're not eating on the road where our little setups are.
Yeah, the desperation patios in Toronto.
Yeah, you know, so it's just an amazing like, experience to have. But moving on to number 3.
Yeah, so we get to number 3, and number 3 is experiencing different cultures.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things that it doesn't apply everywhere, right? Because we're from Canada, it's a very multicultural country, right? We're part of the British Commonwealth. So if we're traveling somewhere that's also part of the British Commonwealth, it's not that different.
No.
The cultures don't really separate too far, right? But, you know, like one of the last cruises we went on, we were in Southeast Asia. We got to experience the culture in Hong Kong, you know, Vietnam and Thailand. Like, it's so different than what we have here that some of the simplest things blow me away. Like in Singapore, we were totally blown away by the fact that, you know, they protect all the animals in Singapore, and as a result of that, the animals aren't afraid of people and react differently.
I find too there's more of like a respect culture in Southeast Asia. It's like everyone just seems to respect not only the wildlife, but just their surroundings in general. Like there's no trash anywhere.
The efficiency in Hong Kong was phenomenal, right? And I'm really looking forward to experiencing the culture in one of our next trips coming up to Turkey, where they have the prayer times during the day and such. Like it's going to be so different than what we have here. That's going to be very interesting for us.
Yeah.
Right? So culture is a big one.
Yeah,
big for us here.
Huge.
Moving on to number 2. This one's massive. More so for me than Amy, actually. But I'm a big history buff.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm a big history buff. So anytime we get to go to old world cities, right? And see the architecture there and the streets that don't go north, south, east, west, that go like this instead. Walking around Venice at night was phenomenal because you didn't know which way you were facing, but all the streets eventually got to the same place, right? So it was so hard to get lost, but it could happen.
You get lost in Venice. If you don't, that's a lie.
It's tiny though. So you walk long enough, you'll find yourself somewhere that you recognize, right? But I mean, amazing, right? When I visit old like military forts and things like that,
when we went to
it's like stepping
to
on.
Dubrovnik.
Yeah, it's like stepping on a movie set, but the real thing.
Yeah.
Right? It blows me away. Right? So I absolutely love experiencing history, seeing some of these, some of the world's oldest buildings and structures and things like that. Love it.
Yeah.
Again, don't get that everywhere. It's not like you're seeing anything old world in Vegas.
No, that's
right?
true.
You know what I mean? But it doesn't take away from Vegas, right? It all depends what you're going to see on different trips as to what we get to experience on this list. So I hope you've been staying around long enough to be here for number 1. And number 1 is something that if you were to ask me what my top 5 things to do while on vacation were, this wouldn't have been number 1 for me like a decade ago. It really wouldn't have.
No?
No, because at that time, I hadn't really experienced it all that often on previous trips, right? There are certain places you go that naturally it's a part of it, but it's so much so a part of it that you don't consider it a special thing to do.
That's fair.
Right? Like
that's
if you
fair.
go to the Caribbean, this is definitely a part of it.
Yeah.
But you don't think of it that way.
No.
But when we went to Alaska, it quickly became one of the most important things for me.
And number 1 for us is nature.
It's nature.
And you say Alaska, but I'm even gonna go. We did a side trip to the Yukon, and the first thing Cobb said when we took our tour was, he goes, "Wow, I feel like I could plant a flag here and say I'm the first person that's arrived."
Yeah, call it Codeland because it's so untouched.
Yeah, it was just crazy. The mountains and
crystal
clear waters that were in between mountains, and the water was so perfectly still that the reflection that came off the mountains was ridiculous.
Right, perfect.
We did our one tour in Antarctica, and I saw penguins for the first time. Now you can see penguins at zoos. I'm aware of this.
Yeah,
but
I've seen penguins at Maryland.
But experiencing penguins in their natural habitat is just so much more different.
Yeah, and especially when it's like they don't care that you're there, right? They don't care. They just go about their business.
They're like, just, leave us alone and we'll do our own thing. And if you guys want to sit there and take videos of us, like, have at it.
Yeah.
Right? But there's so much beauty in nature. And as Canadians, like, we do appreciate it. But I don't think I appreciated it as much as I did when we went traveling and we saw some of these amazing...
Yeah, seeing the monitor lizard in Singapore. Phenomenal.
Halong Bay.
Right? Yeah, the limestone islands, the thousands of them in Halong Bay, right? Phenomenal.
Amazing.
Right?
Amazing.
The cave that we saw in Vietnam. Amazing.
Yeah.
Like you can't compare anything that man makes to nature.
No.
You can't. Nature takes it to the next level.
Yeah.
Right? And when you get to see things that stun you, quite literally stun you.
Yeah.
Right? You can look at pictures of them, you can watch videos of it. We share videos of it on this channel, right? And be like, wow, that looks amazing. But until you're there and you're in the middle of it, it blows you away. When we went to Alaska, I wasn't that excited. To be entirely honest with you, when we were going to Alaska, we went because we got a great deal on it.
Yeah, like
right?
it was not even on our radar to go to Alaska at all. Yeah.
I'm like, hey, you're good. People are like, you're going to see,
Glaciers.
And I'm thinking, whip-de-doo.
Yeah.
Like, massive mountains of ice. Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Like whip-de-doo.
Yeah.
But the color, phenomenal, right? What blew me away, though, when it came to glaciers was the sound.
Yeah.
The constant...
Ice cracking.
Every now and then, a piece falling off. And realizing that this has been going on for centuries.
Yeah.
Right? It just keeps going.
Yeah.
Never ending.
Yeah.
Right? It's wearing away, but at the same time, it's growing. It's a constant cycle.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's crazy.
Right? To experience it up close, amazing. Nature, if you get the opportunity to do one of these nature tours,
don't pass it up.
somewhere in the world that's completely foreign to you, take advantage, man, because whether that's your thing or not, I guarantee you it'll become part of you, of who you are by the time you've done it.
Yeah.
And those are the top 5 things
that
we like doing on trips, right?
We got a notification the other day to say that 95% of you have still not subscribed. So
only 5% of the people that watch our videos are actually subscribed. The other 95% are freeloading. Okay, you're hopping on, you're taking advantage of our information, and you're walking away like you were never actually there. But
we want you here.
Tells us.
We want you here, guys.
We want you to join the party. It'll really help us a ton.
Yeah.
If you just click subscribe.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying you have to click the notification bell. Maybe not every video we do is for you, but if you intend on watching at least some of our content and you do take some useful information from us.
Or just enjoyment from us. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Right?
Just hit subscribe, guys. Help us out.
Please. Click subscribe. Become part of the Why We Buy It crew.
Yeah.
And take advantage of what we have to offer.